Omega does not sleep. The station hangs in the abyss of the Sarabaric system like a wounded predator, its massive asymmetrical hull glowing with the sickly lights of 1,000 criminal enterprises. Once a Prothean construct, long ago stripped of its original purpose, Omega is now a lawless nexus of mercenary gangs, smugglers, mercantile cartels, and refugees fleeing wars they no longer understand. Its corridors echo with gunfire and whispered bargains, its air thick with ozone, blood, and recycled breath. At this moment, Omega is at war with itself, as it always is. Then space breaks. It is not a mass relay jump. It is not an ESO flare or a drive core misfire. The anomaly manifests as a rupture in spacetime itself, a spiraling fracture above Omega's upper docking ring. Sensors across the station overload simultaneously. Kinetic barriers flicker. Power grids stutter. Every species on Omega, from Batarian slavers to Turian mercenaries, feels the same pressure in their skulls, an instinctive awareness that reality has been violated. The tear expands. Colors that do not exist in known spectrums bleed into real space. Geometry twists inward, folding upon itself like an impossible kaleidoscope. The vacuum around the anomaly vibrates, as if space itself is screaming under a soundless strain. Then something steps through. A humanoid figure emerges without ship, without suit, without apparent life support. He floats, upright, suspended in the void above Omega, wrapped in a flowing crimson cloak that moves as if alive. Beneath it, layered robes of deep blue and gold shimmer with arcane sigils that pulse faintly against the darkness. Stephen Strange, Sorcerer Supreme of Earth. His eyes glow faintly as he surveys the station below. He does not panic. He does not gasp. He has seen collapsing universes, dying timelines, and gods devoured by entropy. Compared to those, Omega is merely unfamiliar. Behind him, the tear seals itself with a thunderous implosion that ripples across space like a gravitational shockwave. Omega's sensors go blind. Inside the station, chaos erupts. Emergency bulkheads slam shut across multiple districts. Mercenary squads scramble for cover, weapons raised toward empty corridors. In the Afterlife nightclub, music cuts abruptly as patrons stagger, disoriented, many clutching their heads. Arya Tloke herself pauses mid-conversation, one mandible tightening as she feels the disturbance crawl across her biotics like an invasive parasite. This is not biotics. This is something else. Back in the void, Strange extends one gloved hand. With a subtle rotation of his fingers, golden sigils bloom into existence, complex, fractal constructs of mystic geometry. The cloak of levitation responds instinctively, pulling him forward. He moves. Not through thrusters. Not through momentum. Reality simply allows him to. As he approaches Omega's outer hull, Strange senses the structure beneath the metal. Ancient. Built by a species long dead. He feels the scars of centuries of violence soaked into its frame. Pain, greed, survival, and something watching him. Strange lands silently on the hull near a damaged maintenance aperture. His boots make no sound against the alloy. He kneels, pressing his palm to the surface, eyes narrowing as he probes deeper with mystic perception. Interesting, he murmurs. This universe hums differently. The laws of physics are familiar, but tuned to a different key. Dark energy, mass effect fields, element zero, crude tools manipulating gravity and spacetime without understanding its deeper architecture. And beneath it all, a looming presence. Not here. Not yet. But approaching. A war. Strange straightens. If I'm here, he says quietly, then something very wrong is about to happen. Omega's internal alarms escalate. And for the first time in its violent history, the station has attracted something far more dangerous than criminals or warlords. It has drawn the attention of a master of reality itself. The galaxy is already burning. The Mass Effect wars have shattered the fragile illusion of stability maintained by the Citadel Council. Whether defined as the Reaper War itself or the cascading conflicts leading up to it, the result is the same. Civilization stretched thin, fleets redeployed, borders collapsing under pressure. Omega thrives in this chaos. Located beyond formal Citadel jurisdiction, the station operates as a pressure valve for galactic instability. Mercenary groups like Eclipse, Blue Suns, and Blood Pack wage constant low-level war for territory. Smugglers move ESO, weapons, and intelligence through its docks. Refugees from colonies lost to slavers or synthetic incursions flood its lower wards. At the center of it all sits Arya Tloke. Omega's self-proclaimed queen rules through fear, precision, and reputation. A powerful Asari biotic, Arya understands power not as brute force, but as control of information, of alliances, of perception. Nothing significant happens on Omega without her knowing, which makes this anomaly deeply unsettling. Reports flood her command center within minutes. Sensor failures. A spatial rupture above the station. Visual confirmation of an unregistered entity entering through vacuum without protection. Arya watches the footage in silence. A humanoid. No weapons. No biotic aura she recognizes. No tech. That's not a merc, she says coldly. And it's not Citadel. Her advisors exchange uneasy glances. One Turian lieutenant clears his throat. Could be a new Reaper asset. Or some kind of experimental platform. Arya bares her teeth slightly. No. She feels it again, that crawling sensation along her biotic senses. Whatever this being is, it does not manipulate mass. It bends something deeper. Across the station, reactions vary. In the slums, preachers proclaim divine judgment. In mercenary barracks, commanders issue orders to lock down districts. Smugglers attempt to flee, only to find Omega's docking systems partially disabled by cascading power fluctuations. Meanwhile, far beyond Omega, other eyes turn toward the disturbance. Citadel sensors register the spacetime anomaly as a localized reality spike. Unprecedented, unclassified. Analysts scramble for explanations. The Asari matriarchs whisper of ancient warnings. Solarian scientists argue over theoretical impossibilities. The Turians quietly begin redirecting patrols. And in the darkness between stars, something old stirs. The Reapers feel it. Not as fear, but as irritation. They have mapped this cycle meticulously. They have accounted for organic resistance, synthetic rebellion, even improbable variables like Shepard. This anomaly does not fit. Back on Omega, Arya issues a single command. Find it. Strike teams deploy, sweeping corridors and maintenance sectors. Drones scan for energy signatures. Biotics probe the station's core. They find nothing, because Strange is already inside. He walks Omega's corridors unseen, cloaked not by invisibility, but by selective perception. Minds slide past him. Sensors ignore him. He moves like a thought no one quite notices. He observes. He listens. He learns. Languages decode themselves in his mind through mystic translation. He watches Krogan mercenaries argue over territory. He senses fear beneath bravado, desperation beneath violence. The station is not evil, it is wounded, and it is useful. Strange stops at a balcony overlooking the Afterlife nightclub. From above, he watches Arya Tloke enter, flanked by guards. Power radiates from her in sharp, disciplined waves. A ruler, Strange murmurs. Of sorts. This universe is unstable. A multiversal collision brought him here, likely triggered by something attempting to pierce reality from this side. If left unchecked, it will cascade, destroying not just this galaxy but others adjacent to it. And Omega sits at a crossroads of chaos. A perfect fulcrum. Stephen Strange is not a conqueror. He is a surgeon who learned too late that reality is more fragile than flesh. Once, he was a man of ego and precision, his hands capable of miracles. Then they were broken. And in seeking to heal himself, he discovered the mystic arts, disciplines older than civilization, guarding the universe from threats that cannot be fought with armies. As Sorcerer Supreme, Strange has defended his reality from Dormammu, from temporal collapse, from incursions that annihilate entire universes. He understands cost. He understands sacrifice. Which is why this universe concerns him. The anomaly that pulled him here was not random. Something attempted to breach dimensional barriers using crude gravitational manipulation. Mass effect fields pushed beyond safe parameters. Someone, somewhere, is poking holes in the multiverse without realizing what might crawl through. If left alone, this galaxy will tear itself apart. Strange stands within Omega's ancient core, surrounded by humming machinery he barely understands, and understands completely. Technology and magic are not opposites. They are languages describing the same truth. He sees potential here. Omega is lawless, yes, but flexible. Unbound by councils, treaties, or moral paralysis. It sits at the heart of mercenary networks and information flows. Control Omega, and one can influence the war without ever commanding a fleet. Strange closes his eyes. Golden sigils spiral outward, interfacing with Omega's systems. Not hacking them, but overlaying them with mystic frameworks. Defensive wards fuse with kinetic barriers. Surveillance systems gain predictive probability layers. Omega begins to change. Subtly. Quietly. Strange is not here to rule for glory. He is here because if he does not impose order, something far worse will. And when the Reapers arrive, Omega will either be a slaughterhouse or a fortress. Strange opens his eyes. Time to operate, he says. Omega reacts violently to uncertainty. Within hours of the anomaly, mercenary factions mobilize. Eclipse patrols seal off biotic corridors. Blue suns establish heavy weapon nests overlooking transit hubs. Blood-packed Krogans spread through the lower wards, daring anyone to challenge them. Everyone senses that Omega has changed, but no one understands how. Arya Tlok understands enough to be furious. She stands at the center of Afterlife, arms crossed, watching holographic overlays scroll through unreadable data. Systems are behaving wrong. Predictive targeting algorithms return impossible probabilities. Surveillance feeds show blind spots where there should be none. Entire corridors feel quieter. This thing is inside my station, Arya says. Her voice is calm, but every Asari in the room feels the edge beneath it. And it's rewriting the rules. A lieutenant speaks up. We've tracked a distortion near the old Prothean core. Whatever it isn't using tech. Arya's eyes narrow. Then it's using something better. She moves. Escorted by elite guards, Arya descends into Omega's ancient interior, passing into sections predating even Asari exploration. The air grows colder. The hum of machinery deepens, resonating through bone and biotic field alike. And then silence. At the heart of the chamber, a figure waits. Dr. Strange stands calmly atop a circular platform etched with Prothean glyphs, now overlaid with glowing golden sigils that rotate in slow, deliberate patterns. He does not turn as Arya approaches. He already knows she is there. You're trespassing, Arya says. Strange finally looks at her. His gaze is sharp, assessing, not impressed, not threatened. So are you, he replies. Biotic energy flares instinctively around Arya's hands. You don't belong in this galaxy. Strange inclines his head slightly. On that we agree. The tension is immediate, suffocating. Two apex predators measuring each other without movement. Around them, Omega's systems hum in unnatural harmony. Arya takes another step forward. You caused panic. You disrupted my station. You either explain yourself, now, or I have you spaced. Strange smiles faintly. I doubt that. In a blink, the guards raise their weapons. And freeze. Their muscles lock. Their thoughts blur. Not paralysis, permission withdrawn. Strange hasn't attacked them. He has simply convinced reality that they should not act. Arya feels it. A pressure not against her biotics but around them, like trying to ignite fire underwater. Strange gestures and the guards lower their weapons, confused but unharmed. I'm not your enemy, he says. But I will not be threatened. For the first time in centuries, Arya Tlok hesitates. Across the galaxy, intelligence agencies dissect the anomaly. Solarian STG analysts identify the event as a localized spacetime violation inconsistent with mass relay physics. Asari scientists argue it resembles ancient pre-Prothean warnings, myths of reality shears. Turians classify it as a potential existential threat. And in deep space, Reaper processing cores model it as a statistical error. On Omega, Arya and Strange talk. Not negotiate. Not bargain. Diagnose. You manipulate space without mass, Arya says slowly. Without EZO. Without feedback. Strange nods. Your technology bends gravity. I bend causality. He explains, carefully. Not magic as superstition but as discipline. A framework for interacting with higher dimensional structures the galaxy has never named. He senses Arya's intelligence, her pragmatism. He does not patronize her. Arya listens, files it away, then asks the real question. Why Omega? Strange looks around the chamber. Because this station is free. He explains the war he senses approaching. Not fleets and soldiers, but annihilation cycles. Machines that harvest civilizations as matter-of-factly as pruning a tree. Arya feels a chill. Rumors of Reapers have reached even Omega. If they arrive, Strange continues, this station dies first. Or becomes bait. He offers her a choice. Not surrender. Partnership. I stabilize Omega, he says. Turn it into something the Reapers cannot predict. In return, I need autonomy. Arya laughs softly. You're asking me to share my throne. No, Strange replies. I'm asking you to keep it. Silence stretches. Arya considers the unthinkable. Omega under her rule, but protected by something beyond fleets or biotics. Power she cannot control but can aim. Finally, she nods once. Fine, she says. But understand this. Cross me and I will find a way to kill you. Strange smiles again. I would expect nothing less. Across Omega, the change accelerates. Barriers strengthen without drawing power. Surveillance improves without visible upgrades. Mercenary ambushes fail because targets simply aren't where they should be. Whispers spread. Omega has a guardian. Citadel command grows uneasy. Reports from Omega suggest an unknown force influencing probability itself. Fleets begin probing maneuvers. Mercenary contracts skyrocket as factions seek leverage. A Turian task force jumps into the system. Their presence is unmistakable. Strange senses them immediately, ripples in spacetime, intention sharpened into mass and metal. He watches their approach from Omega's upper spires, cloak fluttering in a wind that should not exist. They're testing you, Arya says beside him. They're testing us, Strange corrects. The task force deploys drones. Scans spike. Weapons lock. Strange raises a hand. Space bends. The drones drift harmlessly aside, their targeting scrambled not by jamming, but by rewritten outcomes. The Turians fire warning shots. The shots never arrive. They curve away, vanishing into microfractures that close instantly. The message is clear. Omega is defended. Citadel command withdraws, for now. But the galaxy is watching. And somewhere far beyond known space, Reaper signals intensify. Not everyone accepts Omega's transformation. A coalition of mercenary leaders attempts a coup, believing Strange to be a distraction they can exploit. They strike simultaneously across 3 districts. They fail. Strange does not obliterate them. He dismantles them. Weapons misfire. Reinforcements arrive late. Escape routes loop endlessly back into kill zones. The mercenaries realize too late that Omega itself has turned against them. Arya watches the aftermath in silence. No bloodbath, she notes. Fear lasts longer, Strange replies. Elsewhere, Reaper probes test Omega's defenses from the shadows. Strange senses them, cold, ancient intelligences brushing against reality like knives. For the first time, the Reapers hesitate. Omega has become unpredictable. And unpredictability is dangerous. The Reapers do not announce themselves. They do not posture. They do not threaten. They arrive because the calculation says they must. Across the Sarabaric system, space bends under impossible mass as Reaper capital units translate from dark space. Not through relays, not through conventional FTL corridors, but by brute force violation of spacetime, their arrival heralded by gravitational shockwaves that ripple outward like tidal forces. Omega's newly enhanced sensors scream warnings across every channel. Arya Tloke stands at the highest observation platform, staring into the void as the first Reaper silhouette resolves against the stars. Kilometer-long, obsidian black, shaped like a monstrous hybrid of machine and leviathan, it eclipses the light behind it as if space itself recoils. Then another. Then 6 more. This is not a scouting force. This is extermination. They came sooner than expected, Arya says quietly. Doctor Strange stands beside her, hands clasped behind his back, cloak stirring in a wind born of rising dimensional tension. His expression is calm, but not relaxed. They've identified Omega as a statistical anomaly, he replies. And anomalies cannot be permitted. Below them, Omega shifts into fortress configuration. Barriers bloom across the station's surface, layered constructs combining kinetic shields, biotic harmonics, and something new, mystic reinforcement woven into the fabric of space itself. Docking arms retract. Weapon platforms power up. Mercenary fleets scramble, suddenly united by the certainty of extinction. The Reapers advance without haste. Their first shot is not aimed at Omega. It is aimed at reality. A focused dark energy beam lances forward, not merely striking shields, but attempting to unravel the space-time architecture Strange has imposed. The impact detonates across Omega's defenses in cascading waves of force, entire sectors momentarily plunging into darkness as power reroutes. Strange raises his hands. Sigils ignite around him, vast, layered mandalas spinning in opposing rotations. He chants softly, words older than language, anchoring probability, reinforcing causality, stitching torn dimensions back into alignment. The second Reaper fires. This time Omega answers. Mass accelerators thunder. The Nyx cannons roar. Biotic artillery flares like miniature stars. Mercenary fleets surge forward, their fear drowned by adrenaline and survival instinct. The void becomes chaos. Reaper counterfire scythes through attacking ships, annihilating hulls with surgical precision. But something is different. Where shots should hit, they miss. Where kill trajectories should be certain, they fracture into branching uncertainties. Strange is not stopping the Reapers. He is forcing them to roll dice they have never had to roll before. Still, the pressure mounts. Each Reaper adapts. Their targeting algorithms adjust, compensating for probability distortion. Their weapons shift frequencies, probing for weaknesses in Strange's constructs. Arya feels it. They're learning, she says. Yes, Strange answers. Which means we don't have much time. He extends both arms. Space fractures outward from Omega, forming a vast, translucent dome, an interlocking lattice of mystic geometry and repurposed Prothean architecture. The station becomes the eye of a storm, reality folding around it. The Reapers respond by closing distance. They intend to overwhelm him. Within Omega, the fighting is no less intense. Reaper ground forces deploy via invasive tendrils that pierce the station's hull, disgorging husks and machine constructs into corridors already soaked with centuries of blood. Mercenaries fight back-to-back with civilians. Krogan charge into kill zones roaring defiance. Aseri biotics collapse entire hallways to slow the advance. Strange moves through it all like a ghost. Where he passes, reality stabilizes. Wounded soldiers find their bleeding slowed. Collapsing structures hold just long enough for evacuation. Entire squads escape death by margins so narrow they do not realize how close they came. But the cost is mounting. Strange feels it now, an immense, grinding pressure against his mind. The Reapers are not merely attacking Omega. They are attacking him. Their ancient intelligence begins probing the metaphysical layer he operates on, testing the boundaries of this universe's tolerance for magic. One Reaper changes tactics. It emits a signal not of energy but of concept, an ontological pulse designed to overwrite higher-order constructs. Strange staggers as the lattice around Omega flickers. For the first time, Arya sees him bleed. Not blood, light. Golden energy spills from a cut along his brow, evaporating into sparks that vanish before they hit the floor. They can reach you, Arya says. They can try, Strange replies, but his voice is strained. A realization crystallizes. This universe does not naturally support the level of mystic intervention he is forcing upon it. Every spell, every alteration risks destabilizing the dimensional boundaries further. If he continues unchecked, Omega may survive, but the surrounding spacetime may not. The Reapers sense this imbalance. They press harder. A capital Reaper breaches the outer lattice, its massive form partially intersecting the distorted boundary. Its presence alone warps gravity, crushing ships and tearing chunks from Omega's superstructure. Arya watches the casualty feed spike. How do we kill it? She asks. Strange looks at the Reaper, then beyond it, into threads of possible futures branching infinitely outward. We don't, he says quietly. We make it irrelevant. He makes a decision. Not as a warrior, as a surgeon. Strange begins dismantling his own work. Layer by layer, he peels back the probability distortions, the reinforced causality, the unnatural stability he imposed. Omega's defenses weaken, but space around it begins to flow again, less rigid, more adaptable. The Reapers hesitate. For the first time, uncertainty enters their calculations. And in that moment of hesitation, Strange strikes, not outward but inward. He anchors Omega to itself. Using the station's ancient Prothean core as a focal point, Strange binds Omega's existence to a localized pocket of stabilized reality, No longer an anomaly imposed from outside, but a self-consistent system the universe accepts as native. The Reapers fire again. The shot passes through Omega's former position, because Omega is no longer exactly where it was. It exists half a step aside from conventional spacetime, close enough to interact, distant enough to evade annihilation. The Reapers are just too late. Their weapons cannot fully lock. Their algorithms spiral. They withdraw. Not in defeat, but in recalculation. The battle ends not with victory, but with silence. Reaper forces disengage, slipping back into dark space, their massive forms vanishing one by one. Omega hangs battered but intact, drifting within its newly stabilized pocket. Across the station, survivors emerge from hiding. Fires are extinguished. Wounded are treated. The death toll is catastrophic, but Omega lives. Arya stands once more beside Strange, watching debris spiral slowly away. "You saved us," she says. "I delayed the inevitable," Strange corrects. "And I changed the board." He explains the cost. Omega can no longer be fully reintegrated into conventional galactic space. It exists as a semi-autonomous node, reachable but difficult to target, impossible to predict. It will never again be just a station. It will be a constant variable. The Reapers will adapt eventually, but not today. Strange feels the pull now, the multiverse tugging at him, demanding balance. His presence here is no longer required. Worse, it may soon become harmful. He turns to Arya. "Omega is yours," he says. "Truly this time." Arya studies him. "And you?" "I don't belong here." She nods once. No sentiment. No ceremony. That is Omega's way. Strange steps away, opening a controlled dimensional aperture. Clean, precise, nothing like the violent rupture that brought him here. Before stepping through, he looks back at the station, at what it has become. "Make it matter," he says. Then he is gone. The aperture seals. Omega remains. And somewhere in the depths of dark space, ancient machines recalculate a future that no longer follows their design. Omega bleeds. Not from ruptured hulls or open vacuum breaches. Those have been sealed, but from exhaustion. Fires smolder in the lower wards. Emergency lights flicker where power grids are still stabilizing. The station's vast population emerges cautiously from shelters, medical bays, and collapsed corridors, uncertain whether survival is temporary or permanent. The silence after the Reaper's withdrawal is unsettling. Arya Cloak walks through the aftermath personally, flanked by a reduced guard detail. She does not hide. She never has. The station watches her pass. Mercenaries, refugees, smugglers, technicians. Many nod. Some bow their heads. A few stare in awe. Omega endured. Casualty reports finalize over the next standard day. Entire mercenary companies are wiped out. Docking Ring 12 is unsalvageable. Prothean substructures have shifted, their ancient geometry altered by forces never meant to touch them. And yet, compared to every other known Reaper engagement, Omega's losses are survivable. That fact terrifies the galaxy. Citadel Command receives fragmented data streams showing Reaper withdrawal without total annihilation. Analysts argue for days, replaying battle telemetry that defies known physics. Probability curves do not align. Weapon impact data contradicts causality models. The conclusion is unanimous. Omega should not exist. Political shockwaves ripple outward. The Council quietly retracts several fleets, unwilling to test a station that survived direct Reaper engagement. Mercenary contracts spike again, but now they are defensive. Omega is no longer just a haven for criminals. It is a shield. In dark space, Reaper intelligences process failure. The anomaly persists. Not Dr. Strange, he is gone. But his influence remains embedded in Omega's foundational reality. The station has become a fixed deviation, a node that resists predictive modeling. Every simulation that includes Omega now branches uncontrollably. The cycle is still viable, but less efficient. And inefficiency is unacceptable. Omega adapts. It always has. Within weeks, the station's strange new condition becomes understood, not by theory but by experience. Ships can dock but must follow shifting approach vectors. Navigation computers require constant recalibration. Long-range targeting against Omega becomes unreliable beyond acceptable margins. Omega is no longer anchored to the galaxy. It drifts, subtly, imperceptibly, within its stabilized pocket, never fully leaving, never fully staying. Arya Cloak consolidates power swiftly. The failed coup leaders are gone. Remaining mercenary groups accept new terms. Defense first, profit second. Omega becomes a hub for intelligence exchange, refugee coordination, and unconventional warfare planning. Those who cannot adapt leave. Those who remain thrive. Rumors spread. Some claim Omega is cursed. Others say it is blessed. A few whisper of a human sorcerer who bent the universe and vanished. Stories grow with every telling, of shields that move before shots are fired, of corridors that lengthen to protect civilians, of impossible escapes. Arya never confirms any of it. She does not need to. She stands on her balcony overlooking the station, feeling something she has not felt in centuries. Stability. Not peace, but control without constant bloodshed. Across the galaxy, resistance movements take note. If Omega can survive, perhaps others can too. The Reaper's inevitability, long treated as absolute, has been cracked. Not shattered, but cracked. In another universe, Stephen Strange stands within the Sanctum Sanctorum, hands resting lightly on the eye of Agamotto's housing. He feels the multiverse settle, the imbalance correcting itself. Omega remains. He does not watch it directly. That would be irresponsible. But he senses it, a stubborn knot in probability holding against annihilation through will, adaptation, and consequence. He allowed it to exist, not as a weapon, as proof. Proof that inevitability can be challenged without domination. That survival does not require conquest. That even in universes ruled by extinction cycles, choice still matters. Somewhere in the Mass Effect galaxy, machines recalculate and fail to find certainty. Omega drifts in its pocket of altered reality, scarred but unbroken. A fortress not of walls, but of unpredictability. A place the Reapers will return to, someday. But not on their terms. Not anymore. The cycle continues. But it is no longer perfect. And that flaw may be enough.